Hello everyone, welcome to Radically Loved Radio. I wanted to create a place where people can go to get inspired, get motivated, or find some clarity and get tools to create a radically loved life. I will do my best to provide information on a variety of subjects, including yoga, holistic health, life coaching, spirituality, meditation, and overall mindful living. Each episode will bring you some of the world's best spiritual leaders, entrepreneurs, yoga teachers, coaches, along with some of my closest friends, and we will talk about their life experiences and journeys to create something more out of their lives and how they continue to grow to make that happen. Thanks for listening. Nitika Chopra is the passionate, colorful, and inspirational voice behind YourBellaLife.com, the online lifestyle magazine she founded in 2009. Nitika believes that love and happiness are possible in every moment, and she has dedicated her life to helping others embrace this mindset. With Your Bella Life, Nitika's dream of empowering women to find affirmation in every moment is coming true. She's a certified life coach, a go-to resource for young women all over the globe, and a motivational lifestyle guru. I had the honor and the pleasure of speaking with her about her story and how she inspires women all over the world and what she's currently loving. She was such a dream and an incredible person, and I feel so honored to have had her as a guest on my podcast. Thanks for listening. You are a leading beauty and lifestyle expert and a self-love guru with a spicy Indian flair, which is awesome.
I did say that, didn't
I? You did. So tell us a little bit about what led you to becoming a lifestyle expert, and all the things that you're doing. I'll let you tell us a little bit about how you got into doing what you're doing.
Sure. Well, I got into doing what I'm doing really through, I think, a couple of different things, which one is, I always say, like a lot of trial and error. I used to I've always had a very big passion for being introspective, and I've also always really loved a sense of performance and, wanting to have that as an aspect of my life too. And I didn't really know how I was going to bridge those two worlds. Mm-hmm. So I tried a lot of things before I figured out what my right formula was going to be. But the reason why I started, doing all of this, and the reason why I felt like, I have something I want to say, and I want to make sure I get it out there, is because I just went through a lot of challenges growing up. I had a pretty intense, health story that was a huge part of my upbringing in my life. And I just always felt like, those different challenges that I had, although I'm not the only person that has been through hard times by any means, that I'm, meant to share those lessons with other people because I don't know, I just felt that. I felt it from a very young age. I felt like I had a voice telling me, that was kind of my guiding force to be able to continue and be able to keep going. Was just thinking, okay, this isn't about me. You're meant to share these things. And so when the time came, I couldn't wait to do that.
Yeah, I mean, so much of your not only just your story, but your mission is, this sense of empowerment and radical self-love with, your persona and just what you do as a lifestyle expert. So did you always know that that's what you wanted to do? Or obviously there's trials and tribulations, as you said, the trial and error things that have happened. But what were the pivotal moments in your life, in your younger years, to lead you to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I always really loved, I love performing. I loved it so much, but I really didn't resonate with the kind of the vapidness of performing and the entertainment industry. I just felt like I would get eaten alive, and just not survive if I tried to, be in that industry, because that's just so not superficial or, a shark or any of those things that you hear about. Not everybody is like that, but that you kind of hear about. And so, so it was, actually through a series of like lots of meditating and asking, and I spent a long time in my mid-20s just being really confused about what I was meant to do, because I had this kind of what felt like almost like a knocking on my heart, I would say. It was just like this energy or this essence being like, hello, your purpose is in here. Like, why haven't you, opened us up yet? Like, we've been waiting, and I just felt that so, so, so strongly.
Yeah.
That it frustrated me for a long time. It didn't excite me. I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is this? Why haven't I not figured it out yet? All those different things.
Yeah.
So a pivotal moment was really, there's many, 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 but in terms of specifically around, getting to the place of starting this particular business, I think one of the most pivotal moments was just realizing that I did have a purpose that was much bigger. Like when I was in my mid-20s, I think I really started to own that.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent, honestly, like weeks and weeks and weeks. I mean, probably like, a couple of years just meditating on and asking for clarity, diving into curiosity around like what that could be. Yeah. And so I think that was probably, that was the biggest turning point for me when I finally embraced like, okay, this is going to be something. I'm going to do something with my life. I just have to figure out what it's going to look like.
And the camera loves you.
Oh, thanks. But I always felt like, from like not like a vanity perspective, but like I love the thought of being able to love as many people as possible through the camera lens. Like it just feels like so powerful and exciting and uses like my best talents and all of that kind of stuff. So I meditated on that for a while and was wondering like, what is that? Like what kind of a job is that? I have no idea.
Yeah.
And at this time, I'd gone through so many things in my life that I hadn't really had a big job before. Even though I was like in my mid to late 20s, I had just kind of done smaller things. And it came to me really strongly, like it hit me like a brick over my head that I was meant to, my path was that I was meant to have a talk show.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really understand why that was what was coming up, because I had no money, no network, no experience. I had no platform. I was like, okay, that's funny, universe, but I am not Ellen or Oprah, so I don't know how you expect me to do this. And it was just like what was meant to be, and it kind of like possessed me and took over me for a while, because I just got so clear that it was what I was meant to create. And that's how I created my first business, which was my online magazine, Bella Life, and that turned into my talk show that I eventually got 3 years in, and now I'm just at nitikachopra.com. But yeah, that was kind of, what started the path.
Well, tell us about what inspired your first business, because obviously this was during a time where you were paving that path and you were trying to really hone in on what it is that you wanted to create for yourself. So tell us about how that got started.
Yeah, it was really like, because I knew I wanted to get a talk show and I knew that I wanted to have that, I kind of decided to work backwards. So, I was like, okay, well, I don't have any money or networks or experience, so what could I possibly do or create that, would give me this goal that I'm looking for? And the only thing that I could think of was to build a platform. And I didn't really know even how to do that. I mean, I didn't know. I was barely posting on Facebook at this time. Like, I just didn't, it was still when Facebook was just for, catching up with a few old friends or something. I was barely posting on there. I didn't have a Twitter account. Like, I didn't know anything about this stuff. But I decided to try. And so I created this online magazine, and I had the vision that the online magazine would be a representation of what my talk show could be. So I would have, content created by contributors that would be similar to the kinds of guests that I would want to have on my show. I would have content that would be similar to the kind of topics that we would cover on a show. And then I would have myself on video so people could see what I was like on the camera. So that was basically it. So I started my business from that seed.
Wow. Yeah. And now you've created, this empire that you have now as an entrepreneur, helping people, right? I mean, like, this is just, it's so incredible. Like all the stuff that you're doing right now.
Thanks.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm really curious to hear about is the secret to making your dreams. So this is something that you've been working on. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there's a few secrets, but I think the biggest one that I think is the most important is to allow yourself to play with your dreams. And I think that I feel this way because I'm a huge culprit when it comes to taking things too seriously and, just putting a lot of pressure on myself and, not letting myself play basically.
Yeah.
So I just find that it's really important, to let yourself play creatively. And so one of the ways that I do that is through vision boards. People think a vision board is a vision board is a vision board, but I actually love to lay out some really specific tools and tricks to open yourself up to create something really special and unique. And I think it's just a tradition I've been doing for so long because it is one of those times where, you know what, who cares? No one is going to see this if I don't want them to. I can just dive into my favorite magazines, or search things on the internet and allow my mind and my heart to just be totally wide open to whatever comes my way. And it's really a nice thing. It's such a gift to be able to do that. And a lot of times I do vision board parties with my friends, which is really fun too. Yeah, because you end up supporting each other. And sometimes I'll do a vision board and I'll be timid or unsure or whatever. And, your friends become your cheerleaders and they're your biggest fans. And so they're like, oh my God, of course you can do that. Of course this can happen. And so that vibration and that energy of possibility and abundance and, achieving your dreams is infused into this physical, tangible board, which is so exciting.
Yeah.
So I find it to be a huge win, a huge tool. And I think, the more you can have fun, whether it's journaling and free writing about how amazing your life would be once you follow your dreams and achieve what you want, or, doing a vision board or something else, it's really, it's really a positive, powerful experience.
How important do you think it is to have, or to be around like-minded individuals, or to have your tribe or your love entourage around, while you're doing this?
I feel like it is, one of the, probably top 3 things that are the most important in following your dreams. Ooh. Because you're going to have opposition and doubters and all of that, no matter who you are. That stuff is just common. And, when we're following our dreams, we challenge, other people's ability to follow their own dreams. And so that stuff comes up. So I think it's really powerful to have, a group of friends that you can count on that, as I said, are cheerleaders for you, because that way, when you're feeling down, they remind you. And also, you want to kind of create this energy bubble for yourself where your dreams can really grow. It's like living in a greenhouse or something if you're a plant or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you need
totally.
to have the most conducive environment to making sure that, your dreams can grow. So definitely having loved ones and people around you, even if it's 2 people. It doesn't mean that you have to have 75 people, but, if you can have even 2 people that you could count on and you could, call when you're feeling like you're challenged and you're not sure how it's going to turn out, or, you want to share a win or something. It's so important.
Yeah, I just actually not too long ago got the chance to talk to Simon Sinek, who's,
Uh-huh.
he's an incredible speaker, scientific leadership guru.
Mm-hmm.
He's so incredible, and he just wrote this book called Together It's Better. And we were talking about exactly what you're saying, like the
Mm.
idea of just having your people, or having at least one other person really just be there to hold you, like, and to just be there along with you while you're, climbing these hurdles, or trying to cultivate something new and powerful. How do you, what advice would you give to somebody who's maybe not in that position, or has that support, or perhaps is with a partner that doesn't fully support what they're trying to cultivate?
I mean, I would say Gandhi was totally on to something when he said, be the change you wish to see in the world, which of course we've all heard that by now. And I think it can be very tempting to want to enroll everybody in your possibility. And, I mean, I know firsthand, like, my parents were very skeptical and, like, fearful of me doing my own thing and starting my own business, and, just didn't understand how this could ever be anything, or, ever create any income or any of that kind of stuff, especially being immigrants. I'm first generation. It's like just a very different mentality. And I think a lot of people struggle with that with their families too.
Yeah.
And so there definitely were times when I would get sucked into conversations and try to, like, win them over or prove things to them. But I think for the most part, I have just accepted that, like, their fear is their fear, and it's not for me to, like, take on. And I try to have compassion for their fear, and sometimes it's not very easy to do that, but I think over time you can start to see, like, I used to get so mad at my parents when they didn't, jump up and down about my career and about my dreams. But now, and over the years, I've kind of been like, well, of course, like, this is terrifying for them. Like,
Yeah.
it's, hard and scary for me at times too, but it's just as hard and scary for them in a lot of ways, So the more I can have compassion for them and see, like, they're bringing their own stories and stuff to the table, and they do just want the best for me, the more, like, I feel less pressure, and I feel like I can kind of, move forward and stay in my own lane, so to speak, and just kind of focus on what I need to focus on for my work, and then just know that, like, they'll figure it out or get on board when, your success is greater than their fear.
Right. Right.
And so, like, we don't know how much that's going to be, but,
Yeah.
like, until then, like, it's not your job. Like, your job is to work on your dreams. It's not to, like, convince everybody that your dreams are great. And
Yeah.
I stopped hanging out with a lot of people when I first started my business.
Oh.
Because I had a lot of family friends that, the Indian community is, like, very specific sometimes. And they're just, like, not as, I mean, now it's very different, but this was, like, 7, 8 years ago. And I feel like at the time, this is all pretty new, of starting your own business and being an entrepreneur and an influencer and all that stuff. So I had so many people that just, like, didn't get it and didn't think it was a viable thing, and kind of looked, down at what I was trying to do because they thought I was crazy or weird or it wasn't going to work. And I just kind of separated myself from them, no hard feelings, but just, like, great, like, so glad to know where you're at. I need to grow the stream, and I need to be around people that can support me as I grow it, because I can't do this alone. So, it's challenging, it's uncomfortable, it's not very fun, but I think, as you grow and you progress, you start to see that, like, that is one of the best ways for you to take care of yourself, and it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's so important what you're saying, to just really be open to the idea of letting people that are not supportive just kind of, not fall away, but just, kind of begin to, sever ties a little bit, or just give yourself a break from people that are going to sort of bog you down. I do some coaching, and for some of my students and some of my coaching clients, I often, tell them, I'm like, it's so important to be around like-minded people or people that are going to support you and that are going to make you feel, more of a sense of empowerment, within your own power. And when you're not feeling that and you're not feeling supported, that's going to make it even more challenging for you to cultivate that seed in that greenhouse, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so it's such an important thing to begin to, just observe and become aware of. How do you begin to sort of guide people in this direction when they're not in a good place, especially if they're feeling sort of discouraged by the current state of their lives? Like, how do you begin to give someone that guidance?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with being in a state of your life where things are really dark is, I mean, a couple of things. One is to not compound the darkness with putting pressure on yourself to feel better. That is a huge thing that I'm an advocate for sure. Because I think, in all the different phases of my life when I've really gone through something, I'm a goal-oriented person. I like to feel happy. I, want to achieve happiness as often as I possibly can. And so it became really easy for me to be like putting so much pressure on myself that I had to feel great all the time. And I think the first thing, I would tell people is to just have like deep and tremendous compassion for yourself that you're going through something, and the more we kind of just take a time out, I mean, there's so many times that, I'm having a work day and I just notice that I'm like, just like it's like I'm walking through mud or something. Like I'm trudging through my work day and it's just not going the way that I want it to, and it's just not like coming together the way that I want it to, and all those different things. And I just find that, I end up feeling so much better, and I end up getting so much more done if I just take some moments to love myself, to rest, to not push against it so much. I end up getting a lot more done. I end up getting a lot further.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is like, baby steps, and like there's no miracle step. So, a lot of times in the self-help world, we'll hear things about, like say this affirmation, or, your thoughts create your reality, which like creates a tremendous amount of guilt and responsibility with people sometimes, or, like all these different nuances. And I think something that I'm just such a huge advocate for, because of my own life experience, is like, knowing that like that's absolute bullshit on some level, because yes, like there is a thread of truth in all of that and it's powerful, but there's also, what's happening in real time in this moment right now. And so I think, happiness and moving forward and feeling good is honestly more about commitment to happiness than anything else. I think having that, overall commitment, like every time you wake up, or you're, getting something to eat, or you're calling somebody or doing something for work, like, are you able to be just even a little bit more committed to your happiness, which means maybe you're listening to music that makes you happy while you're working, or, maybe you stop and take a break and call a friend during lunch because you want to make sure that you feel connected to your community. Or, maybe you pamper yourself and go to the spa or get your nails done because you want to wrap your day in some love, But it's about that every moment-to-moment commitment. And it's not about saying, oh, because I got my nails done, my whole life is going to be better, and that's definitely not the message. But it's about saying, like, the more I commit to these small steps, the more I will see an overall change in my life for the better. And so I think those are the main things that I talk about when I try to help someone who's going through a hard time.
That's really, thank you for that. That's great advice. I have a question for you from one of our listeners. She wanted to know how if you had a hard time with bullies, and if you did, how would you deal with them, and if you ever had to deal with cyberbullying?
Oh, yeah. So I never, I mean, so far, have not had to deal with cyberbullying. I'm really grateful for that and hope that never happens.
Yeah.
Actually, that's not totally true. I'm just remembering. I had a picture of mine posted on ModCloth on their Instagram. I had taken a picture in one of the ModCloth bikinis, and they regrammed it, and the comments were horrendous.
Oh no!
So bad. Yeah, and it's
no.
actually really interesting because it's really funny because the comments were really bad, and then a year later, which was just a few months ago, there was this glitch in Instagram where it all of a sudden re-tagged every single person in my pictures. And so it re-tagged the ModCloth picture, and then they reposted it again. Oh. And the funny thing is that the second time they posted it, all the comments were beautiful and amazing and so sweet. But the first time, they weren't. And I mean, there were obviously a lot of really nice comments, but there was a whole war going on in the comments about whether or not I was fat. That was literally what was happening.
Wow.
And
wow.
Yeah, and it was horrifying at first. I mean, it was not fun.
Yeah.
But I have to say, the thing that helped me, and this is something, speaking about bullying when I was younger, I was bullied so much when I was younger. I mean, for as long as I can remember, from, starting in 4th grade to up to, definitely going into college. Just was prevalent for a very long time. And the difference, I will say, about the two experiences when I was younger and this experience is that when the ModCloth thing happened, I felt it initially, but ultimately, within a few hours, actually, I kind of started to laugh about it and genuinely didn't care, which is not something that I would normally feel as a child. I cared so much when I was younger. It hurt me on such a deep, deep level. I felt it so deeply. So I get that feeling when it just it literally breaks your heart when you're, just being yourself and then somebody comes and tears you down just because they feel they can. It's so, so, so heartbreaking. And I think the reason why I was able to laugh it off as I've gotten older is because I really know myself right now. So to me, that is the greatest weapon for bullying, is really know yourself. Know who you are, to the point of, you can tell me, oh, you're so manipulative, or you're so this, or something. And I can literally be I am nothing close to that. That is not at all who I am. And I can say it with confidence because I know myself so well. So to me, those practices of figuring out who you really are, what's really beautiful about you, what's great about you. I looked at the picture of me in my bikini, and I've always been curvy. But I saw that picture, and my truth was that body has been through so much. And that was my truth. So, someone saying it was fat or it wasn't, small enough or whatever, I honestly didn't affect me because I was yeah, okay, but you also have no idea what she's been through.
Yeah.
You have absolutely no idea. So it was very empowering in a lot of ways because I could see how far I had come. If that had happened 5-10 years ago, I mean, there's no way I would have, walked away feeling ecstatic. It's taken, a lot of work. And again, that word commitment, it takes commitment to know yourself at that level in a way that's actually healing and helpful.
Yeah. Well, I think it just takes us back to that feeling of, going back to radical self-love, or being able to feel confident in your own skin. And I think that especially now with the way that we've shifted to more of a visual connection with people through social media, it's a little bit more challenging, especially for younger girls. I talked to Catherine Budig, who's one of the biggest yoga teachers now. She's incredible. I had her on, and she's a dear friend, and this is something that we've taught. It's an ongoing conversation. Just how we can post a certain picture and get different type of feedback than you would, something a little bit more revealing or not, and I think at the end of the day, it shouldn't matter, because what matters most is how you feel in your own skin, and knowing that there isn't an archetype for yourself. Like, we are all individual, like everyone has different bodies, and we should just appreciate that body for what it is, and it's perfect just the way it is. Like, I have no issue with, especially as a health coach, like I love to eat healthy. I always have, my students and my clients, like, eating really great foods, but about your body, like, you got to nourish and love your temple. Like, it takes you where you need to go. And, we need to be able to give ourselves that loving feedback, because if we don't, then your body is going to react. It's going to create contraction. And then all of a sudden it's going to create disease, and it's going to create anxiety, and it's going to create all of these things, So yeah, I agree with everything that you're saying is really beautiful. And I think it's so unfortunate that we're at a place now where some random person from the comfort of wherever they are can post a nasty comment. You know what I mean? It's just like, that still, it drives me so crazy, because I see it on articles that I read, just news articles, that I try and stay off of the news outlets as much as I can, but I like to know what's going on. So, and sometimes I'm,
of course,
it's like you try to just see what people are saying, like, in the comment sections, and I'm like, oh my God, really, you guys, like, it just boggles my mind how, some people can really just say some awful things.
I know. That's where that whole sending them love thing really comes into play.
Well, yeah, and this is something that I talk about, is like what you say, or like when you throw negativity out in the world, or when you hate something, or when you have serious disdain for something, it says more about you than it does about the actual thing or the person, Like, if I say I hate something, it says more about me than it does about that, right? It's like,
totally.
So people need to be able to sort of have that awareness and that self-reflection to be able to acknowledge whatever that is that's going on within them, and change it around, do that, that opposing force. So
absolutely,
you work with a lot of people, with those same sort of issues, Tell us a little bit about how you work. Do you work as a coach, or how do you do these types of, like, seminars for people?
Yeah, so I work with people in a bunch of different ways. I do a virtual and in-person Love Entourage program, which is really great, and we're in the middle of our current one right now, but we're going to be launching another one probably in March, which will be really great.
Oh, cool.
Of 2017. And then, I also do a lot of work just through my blog, even, like, working on content and videos and interviews and stuff like that I can really use to help shape these conversations and help people forward things in their lives, more than, just the average kind of generic share. I try to really go deep and be vulnerable in a way that's going to really impact and help people. And then I also have events, like live events. I'm actually thinking about having them be, not just in New York City. I've been doing the New York City events for 7 years now. So I'm thinking about, how I can branch those out and have them be across country. But for right now, I do live events in New York City, and it's really awesome. And, different ones, everything from self-love panels to celebrations that are just about celebrating and having fun. So, yeah, those are all the different ways.
What currently is inspiring you?
What currently is inspiring me? I think with what's at stake in the world right now, I think that what's inspiring me is like to be more vulnerable and raw in my honesty than I've like ever been like willing or able to do before. I just feel like that's my tool, whereas like other people's tools, might be marching in a, specific activist march or, helping sign petitions or doing other things. I just feel like, one of my tools is to be honest and to be vulnerable in a way that hopefully inspires other people to be more vulnerable in their lives. And so I've just been digging really deep in that conversation of vulnerability so that I can hopefully contribute to some sort of positive change with everything that's going on in this world, because I think, we all, including myself, really need that right now.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of your articles and a lot of the work that you do, there's huge importance on authenticity and meaning and just that feeling of self-love. So how important is it, do you think, to be vulnerable?
I mean, I think vulnerability is literally the key to, like, everything. I think the more you can be vulnerable in your work, with yourself in regards to, like, how well you take care of yourself and either your health and your relationships, like, it just opens up everything. And chances are, I was doing an interview earlier today, and this girl and I have known each other for a while, but, like, we haven't caught up in a long time. And, I was doing this interview, and I was kind of, like, in a weird headspace, and she was in a totally weird headspace. And, before starting the video, we just, like, got honest with each other. We're like, yeah, this has been so weird. This has been so uncomfortable. Or, this has been changing so much. And I was like, oh, you too? I was like, okay. And it just, like, it allows other people to know that they're not alone. It's really a loving act for yourself and for others, all at the same time. So I just think vulnerability, trust me, it's honestly the thing that I am often the most scared of, which I think people will find surprising considering I practice it so often.
Yeah.
But it's like I challenge myself to be vulnerable. It's not like I wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to share my whole soul with everybody. It's not like that. It's like I know that I have to share my soul because it's the only way that I can really, affect change. And so I do it, even when it's hard.
Yeah. What is your spiritual practice like?
My spiritual practice is, something that's like really intertwined into my everyday. I like to talk to God as often as possible. I think I feel the best in my life when I feel like God is my best friend and we're just hanging out all day. So I try to, find ways for me to access that. So oftentimes that is starting the day off with some meditation, even if it's 5 minutes. It's like just kind of centering myself and my center, my core, my truth. It really does make a difference. And, I pray. I try to pray, every day, if not multiple times a day. And I think, I think my relationships are honestly part of my spiritual practice, just like filling myself up and getting inspired by people who are doing amazing things. I think that always reminds me that God is right there with me and is closer than I might think sometimes.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thanks, Nitika. What sort of daily rituals can you recommend for our listeners to sort of begin to get on that path of creating something really meaningful and really purposeful?
Yeah, well, I have, actually on my website, I have daily morning and night rituals, like free guide. So they can definitely download that, and it goes into like, complete explanation about everything. But I think, just finding a way to bookend your day and night is really powerful, and it can really be anything that you want. So for me, like music in the morning has always been really good, and I love like listening to some really sweet, like soulful spiritual music just while I'm cleaning and getting my day started. And I also feel like skincare and beauty has always been really great in terms of like nighttime, especially like putting on face masks or, indulging in some good serums and, things like that. That might seem insignificant, but I really try to infuse like purpose into them and just like use it as time to connect with my skin and connect with myself and check in about how my day was, just internally. So it's become a ritual. So those are just a couple of the things I do. But again, I have a free guide if people want to download it that, it kind of walks through like 5 or 6 things for morning and night.
Oh, that's so great. So just to finish up, I don't want to take too much more of your time. So just a few more things. But for people that want to get a little bit more information, where should they go for that?
Sure, yeah. So you can go to my website. It's nitikachopra.com. Sorry. Totally just said my wrong URL.
You're trying to change it to the one word. It's just Nitika now.
NitikaChopra.com, yeah, and it's Nitika. Most people switch the T and the K and say Nikita by accident, but it's NitikaChopra.com. And on that site, there's an offerings tab, and there's, all the offerings are there for the free guide and all that stuff. I also have a free psoriasis guide too for people who need to learn how to let themselves with psoriasis if some of your girls are struggling with that by any chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. We'll have all your stuff linked up on my website on the show notes for this podcast, so people can always just go on there and click to go to your site as well. Cool. Before we wrap up, I want to say thank you so much for all the work that you're doing in the world, Nitika. You're just incredible, and you're very empowering for millions of women around the world who are watching you and are part of your tribe. So thank you so much for just being who you are and being honest and being open and just showing us the way. So thank you for that. And,
sure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. What the final question I'd like to ask you is, what do you radically love?
Just in life?
Yeah, whatever. Anything.
What do I radically love? Yeah. I mean, this is such a weird answer, but I'm fostering a dog right now, and I love dogs.
Why is that weird? Dogs. That's so great.
I don't know. It's just so random. It has nothing to do with my business or anything, but I love dogs so much. And I actually feel like, this little girl, she's just so sweet. And, yeah, it's the first dog I've ever fostered. I used to have a dog of my own, and this is the first foster dog I've ever had, and I love dogs so much. They're so great.
Is that the little terrier is that the terrier that you posted on Instagram?
My Instagram? Yeah.
Oh, she's
I want someone great to adopt her because she's just so wonderful. She's so great.
She may end up staying.
I know. I don't think I can handle it right now, but I'm hoping that someone really great adopts her because she's really worth it. She's so awesome.
Well, that's so great.
Yeah.
That's so great. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and for, sharing a little bit about you. I mean, it's so hard to try and really get into like the depths of who you are, but at least it let us scratch the surface and made us a little bit more curious. So thank you so much. And
yeah, totally.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. For more information, visit www.radicallylove.com/podcast to read all about today's guests or past guests. You can click on any of the links, or for more information, you can always follow me on Instagram at Rosie Acosta or Twitter at Rosie Acosta, and let us know what you thought.